based on the Java virtual machine. Okay. However, if you wanna use some sign data like the lookup table or dictionary or standard configuration value only. Okay. At that time, you can use the distributed hash. Okay. We already did this one, but this is not very scalable. It's not only for HDFS. In general, Java, distributed Java programming using the Java virtual machine. So we wanna create separate the cache area next along with the HDFS. That is called the distributed cache. Okay, so API can push the data to all slide now. So which means from the driver where you're programming to I try to use the dictionary and push all the data to Java virtual machine. That is read only. If job finished, it's automatically deleted. So for example, configuration, it will use the configuration. Okay. So add cache file. So you can specify the file. Sometimes you can specify the compressed file or hard file, even the unzipped file. Then this file set push this file to all the task tracker. You don't have to worry about the zip file or tar file automatically. It will be unzip and the tar extract of tar file. Okay? You should be able to access such a file. What is the toolrunner? Toolrunner is only work with the local file, so it doesn't have. So at the time you can specify such a file name and you run the program. Okay. So this is chapter 1. Usually debugging is not easy in MR programming. That's the reason I suggest to use the MR unit. Sometimes because to test the entire program, it will take several hours. You need to deal with the big data. Also, this is kind of analyzing the data. So you don't know whether this is correct or not. So debugging is not easy, especially to catch the edge cases. It's a very specific cases. Okay, so even you may not realize forever whether you have the data because it's not online transaction processing. Online transaction processing, many users request the transaction, so they complain if not correct. So debug every time. But this is so for the average 3.1 and 3.2. Nobody realized such a thing, but that will cause a lot of the business problem. Like if there is an interest, right? So millions or trillions of dollars of 0.1 is a huge amount of, right? So it's not easy. So you can start from the very small, the algorithm. If you implement every 1, every 2, every 3, not try to all of that. Unit test using the unit test, so you can start from every 1, then make it bigger and bigger and bigger. Also, when you test it, do not test with the real data. You can start from the local data first. Then, local data, you may not realize such a combined problem that I mentioned, like the associative or commutative. And next time, do not try with the entire HDFS file, part of HDFS file. Okay, that is a suggestion. Also, I think it's a general idea of how to debug in MR, not only for MR programming, but in general. Any question for this? a pseudo distributed mode? There are three ways of testing. One is that you can use a local using tool runner, local file, and pseudo distributed is only one machine. Okay, that's one way to test your program. So you have test machine. Test machine has all the HDFS and daemon program. You can test it. And for the cluster, a header system, you can test it. So you can test the pseudo distributed. Then finally test with the entire cluster. It is suggested to have the all data node has the same version of the Java virtual machine as well as the same amount of memory. As you may realize, memory size is critical in Hadoop system. Especially for this one, the naming node use only the memory to keep entire metadata. So it is suggested to have the 32 gigabyte the memory size for naming node. Even one is not enough. You may have several other. Also, data node at least 6 to 8 gigabyte of the memory, but they should be theoretically it is possible to have different. Especially for Java, what is the model of the Java? Compile once, run everywhere. But you probably know it's not true. Sometimes because of the different machine, you could never have the identical. Not only for hardware, but also the software. That's the suggestion. So same version, same amount, and same specification of the system for entire data. So you can start from tester locally. Okay. So you can use the Eclipse for local deployment. Also, you can use the log file, right, for debugging. So you should be actually the one of the reasons why we need such a hidden system. For the big data system is from log data to analyze the log data from the system. We every day, every time, even right now, we have a lot of log data. Think about your smartphone and laptop. It keeps generating the log data. So you can use such a log data, right, to standard out or standard error. So standard error will be like a console. If you redirect to the console, somebody will monitor this one. Also, this kind of the standard out and standard error, standard input, standard out and standard error can be monitored by the website. So we will see how to do that during the exercise lab. To do that, local mode, you can use just like the Java programming, you can use the print error. It's a standard error. It goes to the standard error. Okay. Also, this output is visible through the as we have discussed, they are communicated based on one TCP/IP. So their interface module is just like the HTTP, which means each one has the right. Nowadays, HTTP is not only for the web page. It can be used for variety, especially distributed the system communication, distributed communication. One is the example of such a Node.js. Even Chrome. When you open the web page, why don't you check the task manager? How many processes are created? Even one, when you access one page, 5 or 6, they are parallelly accessing the contact the web server and receive the data. So based on this idea, there are some Node.js is based on the JavaScript with the multiple distributed network communication. this one can be used for controlling the application or the server, even hardware device, something like that. Asynchronous. That is asynchronous. Okay, so which means we can use web browser to monitor even data. You can see the data. So that is web user interface you will see next class. So like that. You can just browser, you can type. If we want to specific job tracker, the monitor, then this node has the IP address, semicolon 5003. That is the well-known port for job tracker. And but the 70 is the naming of the port. Okay, something like that. Why don't you try after you submit the WC, the word count to your program? Why don't you try this? In this case, it's a pseudo distributed one. You can see local. This one you can see. This is a fully function in your virtual machine. For logging purpose, logging can be used for variety, not just for to check the error. You can monitor your job, okay, your process, and you need to check the how many. You can get the even percentage. So to do that, MapReduce system utilizes Log4j. Log4j is a Java object, so you can use that one for logging. So it's a straightforward to get more information about the Log4j, so you can use the Java doc to see what kind of method how to use. This is one of the example. Okay. You can message logger has the tracer, debug, info, warning, error, or they are different length. Okay. You don't, but do not use a lot for such a logging. That will reduce the performance. So you should be careful. So there's a configuration for Log4j. So you can specify. So you can specify the warning mode, debug mode, trace mode. Okay. So for example, trace is trace everything. Okay. And the debug mode, and the error mode, only the error. Something like that. You can set the level, like warning, or the debugging, and so on. Dynamically setting, I don't recommend the dynamic setting. It depends on your requirement. You can use the command line as using -d option. -d option can be used for the configuration parameter value when you run the program. Otherwise, you need to compile again whenever you change the mode. And where you can find such a log data, go to the user log and ID/syslog, you can find the data. Also, you can access such a data through the web UI, the web browser, or JavaScript. Do not use a lot, it will be huge. For example, sometimes if you load every record, think about you have the 10 million of records. It's a huge amount of data. This reduces your performance. So do not waste on your system. Also, some kind of variation specific use of the log data. You can count, for example, how many in the middle of the process. I try to know how many the record are processed, and also how many A. Also, do not expect your data is perfect. Your file sometimes corrupted. Unexpected data will be added. So some of the line will not be processed. Will ignore how many data are ignored. Because this is for big data processing. This is not like the relational database model. Relational database model is perfect. It's clean, everything, no dirty, no problem. But here we are dealing with raw data and collected data, bunch of different sources. So We don't know how many. At that time, we can get such a statistical information using log4j. So that is called the count. Okay. So you can actually define the such a count, get count, increment, something like that, and increment by what? Whenever you have the situation, you can call this one. Then this, the value, A value will be increased. Then from client, you can see such a value.
So this example, so we count the record?
Yeah, you can count a record, you can do, in this case, we don't know condition. It depends on condition. If something error, you can count. Why if A, T is A, you can count. It depends on your condition. Then, in the middle, real time, you can check the value. That's the benefit of this. So how can you get such a value? Using, by defining this one, get counting. Then you can see the get value. However, this is not correct. This is just rough data. Why? We'd like to increase the A whenever we process record. This one is running slowly because of the calculation. Naming node will start another one for the same block. So this one also increase value A. This one is increase value A. Then this one is done. This one is done. So we will accept this value. And this will be ignored. Still A increase. A value increases. This is just wrong value, not exact value. So do not expect the exact value of such a counter is kind of statistic. Okay? Because I want to see how much process. I want to see how many of them are corrupted. I want to see in the middle. Everybody curious, right? So at that time, this one. The default is the one reducer. What is the optimal number? Many of you guys are curious. At that time, it depends. Okay? You need to run several times sometimes. So the better, the more reducer is the better? No, not always. Sometimes if you have too many reducers, as I explained, each reducer should contain all member, which means when you have the 10 reducer and 10 mapper, how many communication? 10 by 10 is 100. Okay? So you should be careful. So to find optimal one, so you can start from the small size and one reducer. Then increase. See the trend. How many of them are. And also you need to, it is based on experience. Also sometimes, so you can use the semantic meaning of the key, like the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? At the time, Monday usually do not have many customers. It will be skewed, so you should be careful how to balance such a thing.
Professor,
Yes.
when you have like, for example, a free distributor, a free reducer,
Yes.
you have three reducers. The output of each reducer will be like a different, separate file, right?
Each reducer will write a separate file,
Yes.
right? So probably you remember part dash R1, R0000. And if you have the two reducer, part R00001, and so on.
So the client will
You need to download all the reducer file, output file, then combine. Also, you can reuse the object because whenever you create the object, it will consume the resource of the memory. So it's a good idea to reuse it to parse the object. Okay. instead of define. I know sometimes if you are lazy, you just create a new object, but if possible, why don't you reuse such an object to do that? Okay? What about no reducer? Sometimes it happens. If you don't want process, for example, in your word count, you just add the value. But I don't need. At that time, there is a map reduce programming without reducer. For example, image processing, you process each image separately. Then we don't have, there is no way to combine such a thing. And or the ETL, what is the ETL? It's a part of data warehousing. Extract, transfer, load the data. Okay? From the data source to the data warehousing. At the time, it's just transfer data from bunch of source and load into the HDFS. That's it. You don't have to sort, you don't have to combine, you don't have to do the sum up. No, there's no logic yet. Just the mapping. So at the time, you can use the map only, map reduce jobs. There are a lot of the opportunity to do this one. Yes.
But in Hadoop, you have like even the image or anything has to be presented as a text file. Right?
Yes, it's really considered as a binary
Where is it?
but not image format. Okay?
Oh, okay.
It's the same as the binary file. So at that time, you can set number of tasks as 0. It will not be
We didn't have
short and send to the reducer. The output of the mapper just it. Okay? At the time, we need the file format, both input and output of the mapper. We will test this one. Okay. Then I already uploaded this new file. As you can see, it's a 206 pages. I'm not going to explain all of this, but this is a very nice documentation, okay, to understand. It categorize the type of map we use program. So one is summation. Summation means like the word count, sum, or average, not average, maximum, or sometimes drawing. Sometimes other category. It categorizes all map reduced programming by 7 or 8 topics. So actually it's not mine. The slide is slightly modified from the Adam Schultz lecture note. Actually he summarize this book. You don't have to buy. I believe you can find from bunch of source. Okay? This is the map reduced design pattern. Okay, very nice document. And also, you can go to this website. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 categories. It categorizes the whole management program by this one. Word count is one of these. Summation pattern and filter, checkout, and data organization pattern, join, combining 2, 5. And the meta pattern, IO pattern, and bloom filter, many of them I'm not familiar with, but if you identify the pattern of your project, you can actually get the more idea from this. Okay? So I'd like to, before that, I'd like to explain again, okay, about the map reduce type, input and output type. That is the first hurdle, first difficulty when you start the map reduce project. What is the input and what is the output? Our goal is to make from input file make the record from file new line. Usually we are using a new line that extract the key value. Okay, from the record extract the key value. Then output is, what does that mean? Several key and value format. This key and value format will be summed in the reduce. Okay. So we need to specify key and value, input of key and value, output of method key and value. Usually this is the iterate. It's an array. Okay. This time key is always writable comparable because we are going to use the comparable for shuffle and sort as the reducer. And V is writable because it can be modified. And also this one is the iterate. So writable is a string. Okay. And you can read the data from the file. If file, it can be file or directory. In case of directory, all file that belongs to that directory. Okay. Then info format. Actually, you can consider key and value depending on the object. Sometimes you can consider key as the offset and value is the entire line or others. So before that, is split the block by logical. This is a physical the segmentation by 64 megabyte. But here input split means logical by record, by considering the record. Okay, then that's this one. So this is the entire file and block is like that, but split is the by record. So logical. Then this is a key part. There are four different input format. It's a given format. If you want, your own format can be customized. How can you customize input format? Define class object. You can code it by yourself. Okay? So this is a text input format. Key is wrong writable, that is offset that we use in the word count. And output is contents of the line. That is a text input format. If you want to specify key separate, the key value text input format. Okay, like a tag. Yeah. And the value is everything after separate. So if you want to separate by word, you need to separate until the end of the line.
But it has to be separated in the actual file, right?
Not actual file, after you read. Split it, you read as a string, then in your object, yes, you need to implement it.
Yeah.
Sequence file input format, the key is user defined and the value is also user defined. And also you can make them string, that is the sequence file as text input format. At the beginning of as a beginner of the matrix programming, mostly you'd like to use this one of these, then manipulate. But later you may realize this is not convenient for you. Then you can define your own input format. How can you define? It's an object file, input and output object file. We will see the example later. And also map reduce output format is the iterative. It's a repeater. It's an array of the key and value. Okay, sometimes it's a sequence of file format. This is a given. If you want, you can define by yourself. Okay. So for example, first category is a summarization pattern, like the maximum, minimum, count. This belongs to summarization pattern. Okay, so this is very straightforward. It's easy to understand. So this is good example. So you can calculate aggregate and grouping and the statistical function you can apply. If you are familiar with the C code, the aggregate function, okay, and also you can build the index. So it's a numerical summarization. Let me put the. This is an example of this word count, record count, minimum, maximum, or count, average, so can be median, standard deviation. Mostly is the statistical the function. How does it work in terms of structure? I already explained. So you can say mapper, and it has key and value, the pair, and if you have the multiple reducer using partitioner, you can assign specific reducer. Then in your reducer, it will calculate summation part. And if you have the combiner, it will be processed early. Performance is very well. It works very well, right? It's so straightforward. Unless that is not the commutative nor the associative. You should be careful when the data is skewed. If well balanced, it's the best performance. But if you have the skewed data for the specific reducer, okay, it will be slower. Yes.
What would be the example of this skewed data?
This
Skewed data.
skewed data, for example, you have the multiple reducer, okay? Then all data goes to this one. This is skewed. You cannot get the benefit of the multiple reducer. So in this example, in this group, this group means this group map with this design pattern use one data source. That is a Stack Overflow. Anyone who use Stack Overflow? I think everyone. Website.
Yeah.
Whenever you have the problem of coding, you type it, right? So Stack Overflow, they open the data set. Probably you can download actually from website. So that is this one Stack Overflow data set that actually has a 5 tables, but in this group they use command, so user command on the problem and post. So I have a problem compiling and user information. This group use 3 the table. They all data set were from the XML format. I will show the example, and each record is a per line. So already the new line character. So you can download using the torrent, the latest one. But old one, there's a website, but be careful. Sometimes it has the virus. I cannot guarantee. So we do your responsibility to get download. Because I do not have the textbook and this book, so I'm not sure whether this will provide C0, but you can find. So this is an example of the command. For example, command ID, probably the ID of the command. Post ID is the kind of the foreign difference, okay? And text information is command. Are you getting any result and so on? It's the time. And user ID is this one. And poster is the poster of this one. Under this poster, probably there are many commands. And each poster, each command is uploaded by the user information. Using this one, we write minimum and maximum count the tuple, which means the record for user, something like that. This time, this one is the customized data type. Okay, this is actually the mapper. Mapper object text min-max counter. Input is the object. Object is the input file. Then it's a text value, but the output is a min-max counter tuple, which is not mentioned. It's a customized. So where is it? It's defined here. Okay, so this is after you get used the data format, it's good idea to define your own internal. Okay, so I'm not going to explain this one, so you can check who are this slide from this slide is available on Canvas. Okay, and this is the reducer. Okay, and as you can see, Emacs counter table is used. So this is the overall idea of this program. So for each user, the same user and maximum and count. So maximum, so 21, and the count is 1, 2, 3. And our goal is to get this one per user, right? So in this case, user ID will be key, right? And this is output form, the min, max, count all together. Min, max, count table. So here you will see right, min, right or wrong, and this one. And format here min, max, count. User defined data type. It's kind of user defined data. And this is the driver. Okay. The driver, same thing, and you can specify vector, combiner, and reducer. Data type will be specified here. Set output key class. Input is default. That means okay. Key and value. If we implement the exactly same thing using key, it's another Hadoop ecosystem component. So pig is the kind of the high-level interface to access to process data. It's very simple, just read. We will see later. And if we use the Hadoop QL, so similar as the query language, it's a H-based style. When next semester, when we learn the H-based, we can actually use the SQL style language for this. And this is another example of summation, inverted. Now, inverted index and counting with the counter, this is summation pair. They have the same pattern. They are the same pattern. So it's a good idea. You don't have to read line by line entire book, but try to find the similar pattern of your project and see how they improve. Okay, that's the better idea to show to your development. Okay, actually we need to complete Hadoop admin 1. It's 84 pages for your next exercise lab, but we do not have time. So this is my plan. Thursday, we will have the exercise lab for labs, the exercise lab 3 and 4, followed by the lecture on next week, Tuesday, admin, as well as the exercise lab together, because we have the Thursday, the exam. I don't think we can complete entire of this one. So what I'm thinking is, first we are going to have the lecture only, the next week Tuesday, for Hadoop admin 1 and 2. And Thursday we will have exercise lab as well as the midterm. Okay. So exam will take I'm guessing 30 to 40 minutes. Okay. Then followed by the lab. Lab is for you will install, set up the entire cluster using 3 or 4 computers. So don't miss the lab this week and next week. Any question? Yes.
Yeah, so the midterm is going to be subjective or objective? I mean, multiple choice or?
I will explain to Thursday.